Hi Stampin' friends, Sandi MacIver here. Hope you're having a great day. Today I have 2 more Christmas cards to share with you, and I'm going to be foiling them with my Gemini Foil Press. We need to do a tiny bit of prep work before we start foiling, so I am going to be taking Distress Oxides, picked raspberries, and worn lipstick, and I'm going to be adding that to a scrap of the Neenah Solar White 80 pound, and this is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. It needs to be wide enough that I can foil and then die cut the ball over top of this distressed ink. So get it all in there and then make sure it's good and dry. For the blue card, I have a piece of Neenah White, and it's 4 1/2 by 6 1/2, and I'm again going to use Distressed Oxides, Broken China, and Peacock Feathers, and I'm sponging on all of these colors very randomly on this piece, and using a piece of tissue paper so that I don't leave fingerprints all over it. And this doesn't really need to be really well done. You can leave blotchy spots if you want, because I am going to blotch it out with water and then some white paint afterwards, and we're going to have our overlays of our foil as well. So perfect is not part of the equation for this card. Just slap that ink on there and let's get busy with the foiling. You're going to love this foiling machine, and I'll warn you right now, it's very addictive. I lost a whole day playing with it the other day. So I'm almost finished with my blues, going back and forth between the 2 colors. As I said, I'm not worrying about even or anything like that. And again, I'm going to heat dry them with my heat. Now that it's dry, I'm going to get it wet again. I'm going to splatter some water all over it and then use my tissue to wick it up. And I didn't get as much as I wanted. I wanted some big blotches. And at the end, I put some white paint on. I decided it needs it. This would be a really good place to do that, instead of at the end when you have all your embellishments all over the panel. I'm also going to splatter the card front for the pink card. This is Neenah 80 pound 4 3/8 by 6 3/8, and I'm using the 2 colors that I sponged onto the piece that I'm going to be foiling the ball. So same colors, picked raspberry and worn lipstick. Add a little bit of water and then just pick it up with a paintbrush and splatter it all over the front. And the darker pink shows up a lot better, obviously, so I used a lot more of that than I did the first one. And then I'm just going to set this aside and let it dry while I work on, or you can heat set. Here's my new toys, my Gemini Foil Press and my Gemini Junior die cutting machine. I'm using products from Picket Front Studios. They have a lovely selection of foiling accessories, and we're going to be using the ball and the Merry Christmas and the Fa La 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 sets, and these guys have the foil as well as the cutout. And here's the foil, and it's on little rolls. It's very light, and I just wanted to show you that there's 2 companies you can buy the foil from, Gemini or Spellbinders, and they're interchangeable between their machines and the Gemini machine. There's great instruction booklets that come with them, and I have read through it, so I'm warming up my machine to 15 seconds. That's what they recommend for their cardstock, and I'm going to be putting my foil die onto the face of this little purple guy, and this is called the base station. It's plugged in and it's warming up. Okay, and now I'm going to take that foil and I'm going to cut it the same size as the cardstock that I'm going to be using. And you'll see I use a really gnarly pair of scissors. I think it's got glue all over it, and it just tears this paper. So I fixed that, but not until after this video was done. So I'm going to push the little button in the top right hand corner, and that is going to start the heating process. And I actually turned the volume off of this and did an voiceover, because this thing beeps like crazy when it's finished, and it scares my dogs. So I didn't need to be editing the video and doing all kinds of things while it's beeping. It's going to heat up to the lowest setting. That was what I just pointed at in the bottom left hand corner there. I'm placing the foil good side down onto the top of the die. As soon as it goes to 0, it's heated, and then I'm going to place my cardstock right over top of that, and then I'm going to put the top plate on top of it. So that holds the sandwich all together. You just grab a hold of this little handle at the bottom, and I use my thumbs to gently pull it out, and then I use my thumbs to hold everything in place, pop it over into the Gemini cutting machine and run it through. And this compresses it and allows the foil to transfer and emboss right onto the paper. And you'll see I'm going to take this off, flip it over, peel that whole piece of foil back, and there's my beautifully foiled sentiment. And there is a cooling mat right here. I forgot to put it in the picture to begin with. It also has a little pair of tweezers, so you can pick up these warm guys and move them out of the way, and you can move on to the next thing. There's also this little guy for picking up the mat. I found the mat wasn't that warm. So I'm going to switch over to the Fa La 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 La, and what I'm doing is I'm going to do all of my hot foiling first, and then I'll do my die cutting afterwards. That way I'm not going back and forth moving machines around. So again, popping it back in so that I can heat it up. I'm getting my foil and my paper all ready first so that I'm ready to go as soon as it's hot. And there we go. I'm going to push that little 15-second timer, and it's going to start working its way down. And again, the foil goes good side down. There we go. And my piece of cardstock, my cover, pop it out, hold it with your thumbs and run it through the machine. Pull it back, take your piece up, peel the foil back, and there's your lovely sentiment. We're going to move on to the ball now, and I'm going to show you how to use the positive and the negative piece of that foil. And again, we're going to be foiling on that piece that I sponged. So I'm just making sure that I've got pieces that I need for the negative piece here. And I think I'm all ready to go. I start my timer, and I've got my foil all cut. I've got my paper cut, just waiting for it to heat up down to 0. It beeps like crazy. Placing my foil down, and my sponged piece of cardstock and my cover plate, pulling it out, running it through the Gemini Junior, and you're going to pick up all the pieces, very carefully peel this back because we're going to use it again. And there's the gorgeous ball. Isn't it lovely? Okay, let's talk about this little piece of foil. I'm going to get the die out of the way because we're not going to use it, and I'm going to put that down on the cooling mat. Then I'm going to cover the purple with the little metal shim that comes in the set, and this is called the metal shim. It's going to go down first. I'm going to put my foil back on there, the piece that I just used, and I'm going to put it the good side down. I'm going to put a piece of cardstock over top of that, 2 shims, and that's just cardstock. And then I'm going to put my top plate on top of that. So the extra shims take the place of the thickness of the die that we used. Run it through the Gemini Junior, and again it's squishing all of that beautiful foil onto my cardstock for me. Pull up your piece of cardstock, peel it back, and see how it transferred? Isn't that cool? It's beautiful. So then you're going to take the outline dies and you're going to place them around what you've just foiled and run it through the cutter. One thing I want to stress is use washi tape to hold the dies in place, and don't put the washi tape over top of any of your foil because it will peel it off on you. And you're just going to run it through with your regular cutting sandwich. And then you'll see I'm going to pull this back, and they are beautifully cut and all ready to go. So I have all the pieces that I need now to start making my Christmas cards and putting them together. Aren't these fabulous? I just love this foil. I think it adds that wow to the cards like we've just never seen before. So I sped this up, but I'm just going to quickly show you how I put the cards together. I used obviously my adhesive to attach to the mat, and I'm showing that there is also embossing folders that you can get from the Gemini company, Crafter's Companion, and you could use that if you wanted to, but I really like this splatter for a card base. So I'm attaching the ball, and then I'm going to pop over and just cut off the piece that's hanging out over the edge, adding some more adhesive so that I can attach this to my card base. These cards are going to be very flat, so no additional postage required, and they're both 5x7 finished product. I'm adding glue dots to my sentiment and popping it down there. I'm going to basically do the same thing with this one, adding some glue dots, And then this one's going to go in the center, and then I'm going to add a little bit of foam tape to the sentiment to attach it so it pops up just a little bit. And I don't have a mat on this one because there's already 2 colors going on the card front that we sponged and then we splattered. And as I said, at the end I decided it needs something, so I also add some splattered white paint. So there's lots going on in the front of this card. So just peeling off those protective backs from my foil. And then I have got some gold thread, and I'm going to make a couple of bows out of them, and then you'll see that I take a glue dot and I fold it in half and I attach it to the top of the ball, and then I'm going to lay my gold bow right in over top of that. And I'm going to do the same thing with the pink one, just quickly tying the bows and attaching them with the glue dots. I like the glue dots because you don't have to wait for anything to dry, and they're really good and strong. Embellishment, I decided on different sizes of gold sequins, and so I'm just kind of sorting through them right now, deciding which ones I want to use. And then I'm going to use my Gina K Connect glue, and I'm going to glue all those little guys on there, and I won't make you sit through the pain of watching me do all that. So here's the finished cards, and I'm just moving them around so that they pick up the light and you can see how pretty the gold is. And I decided, as I said on this one, I'm taking a little bit of white paint and I'm going to add a little bit of water to it, and I'm just going to flick over top of this card and add a little bit more business to the background. I decided it was a little bit flat and it needed some depth. So this is a nice easy way of doing that without adding any bulk to your card at all. There you go, the finished card. So underneath this video, there is a link to my blog where I have listed all the products that I've used today on these cards, and I hope you enjoyed them. If you did, please consider giving me a thumbs up and have fun. Consider buying this Gemini Foil Press machine. I think you will be quite impressed with it. I know I sure was, and I'm looking forward to sharing more cards with you again very soon. Until next time, happy stamping. Toodles!